Hey folks, welcome to another video. I'm Scott Perkins, one of the bearded butchers. Today, we're going to be making some deer jerky. Everybody loves deer jerky. It's one of those things you can pass out to friends, family. And the thing that's special about today's deer is my son Ben shot it about, what was it, Saturday? Today's Thursday, so we've had it dry aging now for about 5 days in our cooler. And funny story behind this deer is that we went out and we got to the hunting property and we had a brand new 350 Legend with a scope and everything. We've never really hunted with scopes, have we? It's always been shotgun here in Ohio. So we get out, we get all of our stuff on, and he's like, "Dad, you got the bullets?" And I was like, "No, do you have the bullets?" And we had the gun, but we didn't have the bullets. But I was so proud of him because he used the 20 gauge open sights, and he had an opportunity to take this deer. Trouble was, there was a big buck running in the pack with these does. And man, that got exciting in a hurry. But he kept his cool, and he shot this doe freestanding, open sights with a 20 gauge about 50 yards. Put a great shot on it. We tracked it, recovered it, brought it back, put it in the cooler. So today, Seth's gonna go ahead and break down these hindquarters. We're gonna throw them up at the table and we're gonna make you some jerky. And today he wants to use the Bearded Butcher Blend Black for his jerky. So we're gonna get the jerky trimmed out and we're gonna get it seasoned, and then it's gonna go on the pellet grill, which is gonna be the Traeger Ironwood 885. So let's get started. So as you guys recall, Seth's gonna go ahead and break down this carcass much like you've seen in other videos. Of course, this is a good reminder if you haven't, subscribe, because that's how you're gonna stay up to date with the most recent projects that the bearded butchers are working on. But right now he's just pulling out that tenderloin. You can see we field dressed this deer and we were careful not to remove our tenderloins in the field dressing process because these are the most tender part of your entire deer carcass. So we always start, step one is to peel these out, put them somewhere for safekeeping. All right, so we're gonna be using both hindquarters to make this jerky. I know some of you are gonna say that you would prefer to have the round steaks. In this case, we're processing this deer exactly how a 9-year-old wants his deer processed, and he's not gonna sit down and eat a round steak. He wants jerky that he can pass out to his friends, his family, especially around the holidays. This makes a great little gift item. So Seth's gonna work this down through the ball joint right here. You see, he kind of keeps putting pressure on it just to break this open. And the really nice thing about this is really maximizes the amount of jerky that you're going to be able to pull off of this round. There we have it. One great looking round. So let's get it cut up. Start making some jerky. Today I'm using my 6-inch semi-stiff rosewood handled Victorinox knife.
Here's the second round. If you notice, I didn't say anything when I was breaking these off because Scott told me he wanted to do all the talking. So there you go. It's all you.
So of course the sheath, the steel, and the knife come as part of our cutlery kit. Mine, I've had probably at least a year now on this particular knife, so trim the blade down. So I start right there by cutting that tendon, and then you can come right across right here where the joint is, and you can just work your knife. Sometimes you have to twist your wrist, your elbow, get that shank off of there. That's going to go over to our trimmings pile. So at this point, we know that this femur bone is going to lay right in here, and you want to kind of go at an angle, maybe a 30-degree angle or something like so. And you want to stay in between the muscle groups so you don't actually cut right into the muscle itself. And when you have a deer like this, it's nice and tender. A lot of times you can use your fingers to just, so now that's what we call the top round. got that broke out right there. Right here's our eye of round, so you can see that we've got this seam right here points to. So if you just start with your knife, you can roll that piece out right there. There's our eye around. Right here, we're going to have our sirloin tip or our round tip. So we'll just using the tip of the knife now, stay right along the bone. Come right underneath this bone right here. We've got it boneless. We're going to peel out this tip right here. That's going to make a really nice boneless roast for us. Something we can drop in the crock pot or throw it on the smoker. Now we're left with the bottom round and this little chunk of sirloin right here. That's the nice thing about using that method to pull that out of the ball joint, is you do get an extra little chunk there of sirloin for jerky. So here we just want to start cleaning it up. We'll go ahead and remove that. That's going to go into our trimmings pile. We've got some silver skin right along the edge here. Peel that off. Now what I like to do is you've got this layer of fat, so we can just peel this right out of here. Get rid of that fat. So the idea is that we want to maximize the amount of lean whole muscle that we get off of this. So that's of course going to give us the most amount of jerky. And whenever we make the jerky, we want it to be a nice tender piece, no connected tissue. One of the things for certain, if you're passing this out, you don't want to turn any would-be hunter or somebody that is new to wild game, don't want to turn them off with a piece of silver skin or sinew. So there I have the bottom round cleaned up and ready to cut jerky. Look at this little sirloin piece taken care of. There's not much here, but it is a nice tender. This one's going to have a connective seam right in the center. So what I like to do when I'm making jerky is just go ahead and get all the pieces. The technical term for this is denuded, which means you've taken all the connective silver membrane out. Get that separated. I guess the fat's your opinion. If you want to leave the fat on, some people will appreciate the flavor. Some wouldn't. It's probably best just for most practical purposes to remove virtually all of those pieces. The top round's your largest piece. It's going to have a bit of a connective vein right here. Now, one thing, you don't have to worry about any glands once you've done this much prep work. You're not going to have any glands in here just as a result. This cap right here, you want to find that natural seam. All right, so one round completely trimmed of silver skin. Got the bottom round, the little sirloin pieces, the eye round, and the top round. And we'll get started on the second hindquarter. All right, so we've got two of everything here now because we've got both of these rounds trimmed out. So whenever we're making jerky, what we like to do is we like to go across the grain, and we like to make a slice about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. So, you know, you want to keep things even, so I'm just going to kind of hold it up here. And the reason we do this is when we get all this jerky cut down, it's going to have a really nice tender bite because we've cut now across the grain. So whenever you go to chew this, it's going to pull right apart. In fact, sometimes when you're cutting it, you'll have a little bit of difficulty not pulling it apart. So whenever we do that, we get clean slices. Consistency is the key here. So you want to keep, you know, if you don't feel like you can keep your slices, you know, an 1/8 to 1/4, you know, thicker's fine. You just have to remember, you don't want a bunch of them that are thin and so varying sizes. So you want to keep your sizes uniform, so that way when we go to cook this, it cooks evenly. If you see there, it's literally so tender that it just pulled apart. You can make, you know, some sort of tender bite if you wanted. You can make these into larger chunks, but this is what we like to do for our jerky. A nice strip, about 1/4 or so of an inch thick, and then going across the grain on each muscle group that we work with so that you get that nice clean bite, nice and tender. Don't beat yourself up about, you know, the speed or anything like that if you don't think you can go quite as fast. So with something like this, and then sometimes you'll need to flip a piece around just to kind of make it convenient for you. Yeah, they're just nice. If you see a piece that, you know, I think might be a little bit thick, you can just knock it down a little bit. And the only reason to do that is whenever you cook it, you just want everything to be nice and even. You got to take a look at what's going on back here. Look at that. Doesn't that look good, Ben?
Yep.
Talk about jerky. What about all those chops Uncle Seth cut up? Man, my mouth's starting to water right now.
Over here, Spencer, get right up on top of it. Some tomahawk rib chops, some butterfly chops, some flat irons, some of those inner loins that we call fish tenders. Which one are you choosing for dinner? Maybe one of these. Let me see, open up. Perfect.
You know, that's one of the great things about deer hunting is it really brings you together, or I guess any hunting. We're going to be able to sit down as a family, enjoy this deer that my son harvested. He's going to feel proud of something because he is feeding the family, and then he's going to have a wonderful product that he can pass out with a story to tell about it. And that's one of the great things that makes hunting unique is you have all those stories and that tradition being passed along. And one of the reasons why we embrace hunting as much as we do. So there we have it. Just some really nice lean cut deer jerky. So now that we've got this all cut up and in this pan, we want to go ahead and get it seasoned. Today we talk a lot about the amount of seasoning to use. I'm just going to pop this on the scale here real quick. I've already tared my scale. So I know that I'm going to need, for 7 pounds, I'm going to need 7 tablespoons. So I actually have a tablespoon shaker right here. It's going to make it really convenient for me. We say that you can use 1 ounce per 2 pounds of meat or 1 tablespoon for 1 pound of meat. So I'll just go ahead and add a total of 7. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1 more for a little extra kick because you can never really get too much of that Bearded Butcher blend seasoning. So now at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mix all this together, and then we're going to let it set overnight. We do that. Now we're not going to be using any cures or anything like that. This is just our Bearded Butcher blend seasoning is the only seasoning agent. So we like to do is get it in there, go ahead and work it around, get everything covered. The salt in that spice is actually going to draw out some of the moisture in the meat. So you're going to get everything coated really nicely here. And then we're going to set this in the cooler or the refrigerator overnight. Come back when it's all marinated for at least 12 hours. Put it on our jerky screens and get it in the Traeger wood-fired pellet grill. And a few hours after that, we're gonna have some great deer jerky. So stay tuned. So this jerky's been sitting, marinating overnight. We usually like to give it a little mix. Like I told you, that salt pulled out a lot of that juice. Smell is incredible. So typically what we do is, now I went ahead and I bought these racks on Amazon just because it's gonna make it really nice and easy to transfer this onto the smoker. Today we're gonna be using the Traeger Ironwood 885, one of our favorite models. These are the Wi-Fi connected grills, so I'll be able to monitor this cook. However, it's anybody's preference on whatever method they might have to cook. They can do just about any type of smoker, as long as you have the ability to set your temperatures. Today I'm gonna be going from 165 for about 2 hours. I'm gonna go up to 185, and it'll likely finish there till we get to an internal temperature of about 165. So nice thing about this is you can just kind of work back in, tuck these in. They can be slightly touching each other because they'll shrink up a little bit during the cooking method. We can just put everything, lay it right out here. Sometimes I like to just create a little pile. That way if I find a longer strip, I can lay it out. So the idea is we're gonna fill up each tray. I think it's gonna fill up about 4 of these by the time we get everything laid out. If you have pieces that are too long, you can either set them aside until you get a shorter piece, or we can go back into our bin because we're gonna have some that are, or this meat's so tender I can always just take a chunk and just literally pull it in half if I need a shorter piece. There you have it, 1 tray ready to go on the smoker. So I'll get the rest of this put on our trays and we'll get it out, get it on the Traeger. And the next thing we have to do is just give it a little time. We're gonna have some delicious jerky. All right, we're acting ready. Here's our 7 pounds of Bearded Butcher Blend black seasoned deer jerky. Time to head out to the smoker.
White Feather Meats, this is Stacy. Yes, I think so.
Today we're using cherry wood pellets. So with the Bearded Butcher Blend black seasoning and the cherry pellets, we might be able to call this black cherry jerky. So what I'm gonna do, this is gonna be more of a time thing than a temperature thing, but I am gonna go ahead and use my meat probe because my grill is equipped with one. Now the thing with jerky is a lot of times you can't really find that slice that's thick enough if you've cut it correctly, but I found one. So we've got our 4 trays in here lined up nice and perfect. At this point, see that beautiful, call that sweet blue, that smoke? That's one of the things we really love about the Traeger grill. And now we say this all the time, meat over fire. For millennia, mankind has been using wood smoke to preserve meat, and that's essentially what we're doing here, just with a modern technology spin on it. So anyway, beautiful blue smoke that's going to give us that really nice flavor. So we'll go ahead and get this grill shut, and I'm going to do 165 for 2 hours, see where our temps are at, see what the jerky looks like. 185 then for a couple hours, and I think we'll be done by then. So let's let this thing purr and come back and check in a couple hours. All right, it's all over done with but the eating, right, Ben? So we're gonna crack open, see what we got in here. You go ahead, do the honors. Ooh, look at that. Doesn't that look absolutely delicious? Now you know what we do next, right? Probably want a whole stick, huh? Should we hand some off to your brother? Ooh, that looks good. So at this point, we can go ahead and pull all these off. That's what's nice about using the screens, is you can just grab these. So we wound up 165 for 2 hours, 185 for 2 hours. Had no trouble reaching internal temperature. At this point, it's just kind of about how you want to dry it down, how much you want to dry it down. We're probably gonna put this in bags. That way we can pass it out maybe over the holidays here. You can always freeze this stuff. So one of the questions we get asked is about like shelf stability or whatever. If you're not measuring the water activity, you don't know whether or not it's shelf stable because you have to meet a certain water activity. So in this case, put it in a Ziploc, put it in the vacuum sealer, put it in the freezer. If you're not gonna eat it within a week or so, definitely gonna probably be the best place to put it is in your freezer. So there you have it. One batch of Bearded Butcher black seasoned deer jerky from that kid's first deer, smoked on the Traeger Ironwood 885. Hope you enjoyed the video. Just a reminder, subscribe if you want to stay up to tune or up to date on what the Bearded Butchers are up to. We'll be bringing you more. Also, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Make sure you follow your favorite butchers. That's all. We'll see you next time.